causing fury in the sky. Zoids leads the iron pride. Roar of thunder, sound of drum, roar stand steady, battle floor. Blue guardians fight for peace, red muses stir the beat. Warriors of steel decide the fate, on Zoidstar no time to wait. Planet echoes with their wrath. Warriors treading metal path. Shadows dance in neon flash. Laser beams ignite the night. Iron claws in desperate light. Moonlight breaks the crimson night. Lord defends with courage steel. SUBTITLES leaves no chance to kneel. Fury of the heartbeat real. Zoidstar leads the iron line. Roar of thunder, sound of charge. Chorus stand steady, battle for. Well, mutant stirs up, beat the beat. I'm gonna fight for peace. Red mutant stir the beats. Warriors of steel decide the fate. On Zoidstar no time to wait. Planet echoes with their wrath. Warriors treading metal path. Shadows dance in neon flash. Reason music night, the talent back the night. I'm on the right the night. Laser beams ignite the night. Iron protects the light. Laser beams ignite the night. Iron claws in desperate fight. Moonlight breaks the crimson night. Lord defends with courage steel. SUBTITLEs leaves no chance to kneel. Fury of the heartbeat real. I'm gonna fight for peace. Red muses stir the beats. Zoidstar leaves no chance to. Fury of heartbeat real. Fury of the beats. Laser beams ignite the night. Iron claws in desperate fight. Moonlight breaks the crimson night. Lord defends with courage steel. SUBTITLEs leaves no chance to kneel. Fury of the heartbeat real. I'm gonna fight for peace. Red muses stir the beats. Zoidstar leaves no chance to. Fury of heartbeat real. Cutting through the clear skies like steel lightning. The quick pteranodon Zoid is frightening. With sleek blades, organoid system set. Storm slaughter as the Kylo's army met. Blazing amber ice of technology. slides through the Riddler, this robotic pteranodon meddler. Blazing amber eyes of technology, storm sword soars through the skies far and free. With winged swords he slides through the Riddler, this robotic pteranodon meddler. Cry like scraping steel as you break the sound. Storm sorter is the fastest guy Zoid around. Slicing and dicing his foes fall to the ground before the cyber sky terror comes around. But you have more than blades at your command. Storm Sorter has barrel pulse guns at hand, while his iron claws enhance his melee. The pteranodon has both for Zoids to slay. But problems we face with this Zoid machine, the organoid system is hard to breed. So limit the Storm Sorter's numbers we must, so with its use by ace pilots we trust. Cry like scraping steel as you break the sound. Storm Sorter is the fastest guy Zoid around. Slicing and dicing his foes fall to the ground before the cyber sky terror comes around. Though we soon face up for the Reynos, the Storm Sorter sword is not a big loss. What we have learned we can turn to new designs. The cyborg pteranodon marks the signs. Cry like scraping steel as you break the sound. Storm Sorter is the fastest guy Zoid around. Slicing and dicing his foes fall to the ground before the cyber sky terror comes around. Face up for the Reynos, the Storm Sorter Zoid is not a big loss. What we have learned we can turn to new designs. The cyborg pteranodon